Let's talk about status conditions and their differences across the generations. Before talking about status conditions, we have to break them down into two groups, volatile and non-volatile, or as I like to group them, major and not so major, or minor. I only say major as it's usually a bigger issue. Let's begin with non-volatile or major conditions. You see, non-volatile conditions remain throughout the battle and must be cured by an item, ability, or Pokemon Center. This includes burn, sleep, paralysis, poisons, and freeze. These conditions remain even if the Pokemon is switched out during the battle and even after the battle has ended. You can only have one non-volatile condition at a time. Status conditions do vary from generation to generation, and burn has been reworked several times. With our current generations, Pokemon receive damage equal to 1/16 of their total health points, or HP, at the end of each turn. And in these generations, burn damage was calculated as 1/8 of total HP per turn, with these shown below being calculated after the burned Pokemon has attacked. Additionally, moves categorized as physical attacks had their power halved. In early generations, it impacted the attack stat, as physical special split wasn't introduced yet. Here's an example. Imagine you're running a challenge where you pretend your Machamp has to be flown around by a flock of Pidgey. You're battling a Miltank and your team is 1 Machamp and 5 Pidgeys. It will be ruined if Miltank sets up a rollout, and a one-hit KO with your buff Machamp seems easy. But there's a problem. Miltank is faster and said, "Hold my Moo Moo Milk." Then it goes for the Helmilsery with a Fire Punch, and you take minimal damage, but you get hit with a 10% chance for burn. You ran the damage calculation prior to the battle, and knew that even without a critical hit, you're going to one-hit KO, but burn halves your physical attack. Sure, it may have been burned on the outside, but the sheer insult of Muscle Man being burned by a cow has hurt it on the inside. Or it just hurts to touch things when you've been burnt like a roasted Magikarp. Which prompts two questions. If Machamp had its attack halved, would it look like this or this? Poison and toxic. Can you spot the difference? What about when this happens? How about now? The difference is between poison and badly poison, each set up differently. Poison, often a byproduct of common poison attacks. In battle, poison Pokemon take a consistent damage equal to 1/8 of their total HP, excluding Generation 1, which had 1/16 damage reduced. These generations apply damage after the poison Pokemon attacks, and these apply poison damage at the end of each turn, with current generations being applied after all Pokemon have attacked. Badly poison, typically set up through the move Toxic or a double layer of Toxic Spikes, deals an initial 1/16 damage, but see an increase of 1/16 damage per turn. When calculated, depends on the respective game mirroring poison. Outside of battle, in these generations, Pokemon receive 1 HP of damage every 4 steps until cured or fainting. In Generation 4, walking with poison will continue to reduce health until the Pokemon has 1 HP remaining and will be magically cured. And our current generations are safe. With a change at Generation 5, poison no longer has an effect outside of battle. Sleep has went through several mechanic revisions since early generations. From Generation 6 onward brings our current sleep mechanic. Sleep has a duration of 1 to 3 turns, and when a Pokemon wakes up, it can still attack. However, Generations 1 through 5, sleep is a mess, and I don't mean an Alola and Dugtrio messy hair. In the 3rd generation, sleep lasts 1 to 4 turns. Using Sleep Talk or Snore, moves that effectively attack while asleep, continue the sleep counter like normal. However, due to a coding issue, if you switched out before waking up, the sleep timer is reset. Our friends living under the brutal Generation 1 sleep mechanic have it far worse though. There's a chance to be asleep anywhere between 1 to 7 turns, and to add insult to these sleepy Pokemon, they can't even attack the turn they wake up. If you're slower than the opponent, you're absolutely in danger. There's also another status condition particularly brutal in Generation 1. Freeze. Gen 1 freeze can last indefinitely, unless the frozen Pokemon is hit by a fire type attack or cured via item, or tri-attack, which oddly enough can also cause the freeze. From Generation 3 onward brings our current freeze and thaw mechanic, which is having a 20% chance to thaw each turn, with different moves being added that can thaw. A paralyzed Pokemon has a 25% chance to be gripped by paralysis, rendering that turn useless. Paralyzation has another much more prominent stat modifier, speed reduction. Generation 7 brings our modern paralysis speed debuff mechanic, resulting in a 50% speed reduction. In prior generations, speed was reduced by 75%. And of course, a 25% chance to attack is a significant disadvantage. It's great these conditions don't stack up, right? Before moving on, there are key factors to these non-volatile status conditions in a Pokemon's typing. Poison and Steel cannot be poisoned except through special abilities. Electric types can't be paralyzed. This change was applied in Generation 6. Fire types typically cannot be burned. Ice types typically cannot be put to sleep. Okay, you caught me frozen.